Gray science complete. Let me post a little something about my stuff in Discord. Alright, here we are. That's posted. Let's move on to yellow science. Science! Alright. So we have purple complete. We have blue complete. Oh, I should tile that. Oh, that's the old one that failed. And that's the new one. That one's good. What's this? Let's delete that. Let's keep the blue one in my... There it is. Oh. Yeah. Where'd it go? There we go. Blue, purple, gray. I want to save those. Pretty happy with them. Purple and gray. Goes in here. Alright. So, yeah, let's tile that. So I can see what that looks like. Oh. Yeah. I do want to copy these. It keeps running. Alright, perfect. So there's the blue science strip. It runs infinitely, making blue science. There's the purple science strip, running infinitely, making purple science. All tileable. All the materials move left to right, well, for the most part. And there's the gray. Gray is nice and compact. Very little actually being constructed there. With all of these, because the engines, I put pipes and gears together like this, and then with the gray science I put the two magazines together, so it takes up a little less space in the strip. I'm keeping the strips the way they are with two, basically the recipe, or the, oh, what am I missing? Undergrounds. Alright. Let's grab a few of those. Pop those in here. Looks like I needed 40, so here's 50. I'm trying to keep, this takes 8 seconds, which is less than the time that this needs, but it's still not enough to consider having half as many here. I could have on this one had fewer like green chips, because these green chips are feeding into these engines. So I could have feasibly had half as many of these, and probably half as many of these. I could have done the same thing here with a copper above a green chip, and then the green chips going along the same way that I have the pipes and gears here feeding into just those. I could have saved on, basically, in the width of this, I could have saved one set of assemblers in width. Here, not so much, because you need everything that's going in. You need all the copper wire and the green chips for the red science that's here. But yeah, this will give you purple science without the need to have red chips and green chips and everything all streaming across. You can just have your base materials down here. Plastic being, of course, not quite base. You could try and put plastic into here, but then you have the issue of having multiple liquids being moved around. Arguably, because this whole assembly uses what's the name? Lubricant. Uses lubricant to feed here. You could consider oil being the entering ingredient into this system and have an oil refinery and processing the petroleum and the lubricant out of it. But you actually need very little lubricant for each cycle of this, and very little plastic for each cycle. That would be a much bigger commitment, and it could be done, but I'm happy to consider plastic a base material along with plates and stone brick. And then you're just really dealing with lubricant getting looped around your factory in tubes. And that's arguably okay because lubricant is a little more flexible in use than some, because it does go into all the blue express assembly pieces. So if you want to make any of that, you're going to need lubricant. Alright, let's move on to, what am I doing today? Yellow science. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with those. I'm going to just place it here. 2 yellow science. Let's take a look at what yellow science wants. Yellow and yellow. This is not as complicated as one might think. Partly because the ingredients for a speed module are so simple, and the ingredients for a processing unit are really the only complex thing here. Everything else is actually a really easy recipe. And I'm going to put down the 4. How far south are we? Okay. I'm going to put down the 4 base, or the entrance materials that are going into yellow science, just for reference points. I don't want them in the way. What did I do? Processing check. What is it again? Speed module, battery, right. Battery, aren't you on this page? Why am I not seeing it? Because it's not called battery? Oh, because it's not made in this. It's made in a chemical plant. That's a little bit of a complication. That's a bigger building. What is that, 4x4? 4x3. Alright. That's going to make this a lot uglier. I mean, I could try and destroy my entire setup and say, oh, I'll treat batteries as a base ingredient as well. That really feels cheaty. And I've already forgot what the last thing was. Speed module. Alright, here are the 4 ingredients. So, yes, the red and green chips that go into speed module also essentially go into the blue. So you have here a huge redundancy in materials for these 2 things. The only thing this requires above and beyond is sulfuric acid, which arguably is a difficult thing to get here. And this does make me want to reconsider, I'm not going to do it right now, reconsider the idea of piping oil around, because sulfuric acid is ultimately made from petroleum, and this system needs both petroleum. Oh, I guess it just needs sulfuric acid and sulfuric acid. So you could have sulfuric acid being pumped around in the same way that lubricant is. Alright. Since they both need it. And arguably you would want these 2 next to each other in some way so that the tube of sulfuric acid, there's only one going up through the entire science assembly. So I normally like to put one thing inserting directly into here. There is going to become a problem though, in that these take 4 ingredients instead of 3. Everything else has taken 4, so I've had one thing basically inserting in a long inserter going across, and 2 things coming through on a strip of a belt. I can solve this by making this copper wire, and then of course you'll need the copper strip coming through, and then having some ingredient, one of the yellow science ingredients, the other ones, right here, and have that come underneath the system here. We'll figure out which ingredient that is, so that everything is making it to yellow science. So there's 2 things on the center. I want this to turn. I want that like that because it's just pretty. Here and here and here and here. So this is 4 ingredients making it to yellow science. I don't know what they are yet, but the copper wire here at the end, because it just goes directly in, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. It just goes directly into it, and the 2, I don't know, related ingredients. It's probably going to be speed modules and processors coming along the center, and then have this probably then be, well, that would make that the chemical plant. How fast does this make a battery? 5 seconds. We only need 1 battery, so we only need 1 chemical processing plant to supply both of these. That could make this a little cleaner, because I don't have to worry about trying to fit 2 of these in. I can fit 2 of these in. Where are we? Because they can fit sideways. Something like that. And still have a strip of power and conveyor belts down the middle. I don't need to, because I only need 1 every 14 seconds, or 2 every 14 seconds, because I have 2 of these here. So I could find a way to reduce this redundancy in this particular plant, although this does still look good having these like that. So I'll only do that if this starts to become tedious. So let's talk about copper cable. And this is specifically related to bonus stack speed. So insert capacity in what I'm currently at is at 3. When you get to yellow science in the natural progression of a tech tree, so let's look at that. Which one does that? Science pack. It's advanced electronics. Now, as a prerequisite, you can see there is nothing about the inserter stack size. But the time that you can finally start researching yellow science, you will have blue science packs. So let's look at stack. Inserter. Oh, it's not going to look that up for me. It's this line. These are the stack inserter and stack inserter capacity bonuses. This one? No. Oh wait, are these just the stack ones? Is there a separate one? Let's see, capacity? No. You can't search for that. I'm going to just have to find it in the grid. It's somewhere along here. Oh, well, that's right. It just doesn't say it when you hover over it. Here you go. Stack inserter capacity +1. So the first one is at green science. You're almost certainly going to complete this and have a stack insert capacity of +1, so capacity 2, before you ever get yellow science being put together. I can't imagine a situation where that is not going to be the case. No, I really can't imagine that. So you basically are guaranteeing that your inserters are be able to pick up two things in one swing. This is obviously not actually a guarantee. But believing it to be true should be pretty high in your list. So these long-handed inserters will be able to pick up the two copper cable in one swing. Otherwise, you would need to have two long inserters picking up copper cable, which you could do. You could get rid of this piece, and you could have two long inserters here. And then both of these would be picking up copper cable, and this would be picking up from this underground. So I'm not going to put this here because I don't think it's a necessity at the point in time at which you would put this together. That brings us to the other copper cable issue. This one machine in 14 seconds will make 28 copper cable. Unfortunately, in 14 seconds you need 30 copper cable. Is it worth bringing the science pack production down to 14 seconds, or is 2 science packs per 15 seconds going to be good enough? I think that's a philosophical question that I'm not willing to handle, but it's a bigger issue than the copper cable because this speed module also produces one speed module in 15 seconds. That means there are two inputs into the system that you could make much simpler if you assume yellow science takes 15 seconds instead of 14. And honestly, it should. It should just take 15 seconds to make. The 14 is basically the developers laughing at you, saying, haha, you think you're going to be efficient with ratios? This needs 14 seconds. So I'm constructing this using the idea that it takes 15 seconds to complete 2 yellow science. This is also 14. This is actually producing in 14 seconds, and then blue is 12 seconds. But this is actually completing in the amount of time that it says. This is 10 seconds, right? So anyway, I don't know how important this is to people, but it's not important enough to me to do anything about it. I'm going to just assume 15 seconds. Alright, so that leaves what will go underneath and be produced last in this row. Let's see, we need copper cable or copper wire coming up. It can come up here, or copper plate and be picked up. Like so. Let's just go ahead and power that so it's not flashing at me anymore. Okay, let's put it there. Oh, actually, I need it to reach. There we are. So the center line will need to go underneath. Alright. Our choices are battery, so this could be the battery production. Processing unit or speed module. In order, though, if we're looking for some sort of efficiency, so we've already done this. Oh, I should have left it. In order, we kind of want this to be speed module because these two share a need of red and green circuits, and these two share a need of sulfuric acid. Arguably, the sulfuric acid is more of an issue, and so these absolutely should be next to each other. These two do not need to be next to each other. We may have a decent amount of red and green chips streaming through. Makes me want to put this as the batteries last, so that I can get, well, except there is copper on this line. Are these going to be using that We're going to use it quick. How quick? Quick enough that maybe I won't. Total amount of copper used in yellow sciences, how much? Ah, wrong pages. So you're looking at a lot of copper plate. You're looking at 84 copper plate. Twice as much copper plate as iron plate being used. Yeah, I can pull from this to feed into the batteries, but not into anything heavy. So let's just put these here. And I am going to assume, how many did I make? Oh, I made too many. I am going to assume, we need one more space, that there are 2 of these, even though we only need 1. I wanted 2 because it looks pretty. It's a ridiculous reason, I know, but this is all about beauty. The whole reason we're doing this is because, not just because it's efficient, but because it's prettier than the other way to do it. So this needs to pull from both those lines. And this is going to be iron coming up on this line. I'll go ahead and start setting that up so it looks good. So it's iron and copper coming through. This needs to pull from both. Oh, battery. There we go. And input line. This probably can't just be. I probably can't do just like that. And then also have anything here. Basically, the processing chips. If I did that, I can't get any undergrounds below this. Do I need to? I may not need to. Let's actually, this might be fine. Let's see. This will go under the pipe. Well, so what's more expensive, an underground pipe or an underground conveyor belt? This is 17.5 ore. This is 15 ore. Okay, well, there's another cost that's going into it, and that is if you go underground with the undergrounds, you can actually skip more pieces of underground belt. So you're skipping 3 underground belts instead of, you can only really end up skipping 1. Well, more than 3. You're skipping 5 underground or regular belts and replacing them with 1 underground. And here you're replacing 3 pipes. So technically, this number is, yeah, you subtract, how do I, head, you're replacing the 5 transport belts with, so you're spinning 10 iron plate to create this. And for the underground, you're spending 5 iron plate plus, because you could put 3 pipes, 7 pipes. 7 pipes is another 4 iron plate. So you're putting 9 iron plate and 10 iron plate. That's the difference. 9 iron plate to 10. Clearly this is a preference thing, and my preference is going to be that because I'm going to want this here. Nope, I'll have to go here. Perfect. This needs to go on this underground. Okay. These need to move. That's a little bit of a reach. That's going to require another set of undergrounds in order to reach both of these. Unless we can put, let's see, I was trying to be, okay. Well, I can save a little bit of space then. This can go like that. And this can go here. And these all have to go in the middle. And we can go underground here to there. Here to there. Yeah. Perfect. So battery, you know, I didn't actually, I just remembered what it needed, but it is iron plate and copper plate to make one battery. And then the sulfuric acid coming through this pipe here. Just make an infinite sulfuric acid assembler. Empty a barrel of sulfuric acid. And we'll insert it here. Oh, we need more chests. Where is that? Where's my reminder of how that costs? There it is. Insert infinity chest. Here we are. This is barrels of sulfuric acid. And this one is just clearing up the barrels when they're done. Okay. Here's our inputs. So we actually have two of the ending item. Now, to get these blue chips onto the line, they're going to want to go onto this line here. And they need to go onto the same side. And I hate having to do it this way, but this is the only clean way I've run into doing it. So if I want these both on the right-hand side, this one can, let me just insert directly onto, so that's going to be on the right-hand side. This one, however, you'll have to use an inserter to pop it over on the side you want it on. And I could leave this empty because the insert can pick up from the ground. But this creates a reminder of what is going on, which is sometimes just as important if you're trying to find problems. So these will insert out onto the belt, and all the blue will end up on the right-hand side of the belt. These take 10 seconds to process, so you do absolutely need to do those. These only take 5 seconds, so you could have gotten by with only one battery plant, but then you need to separate all the stuff coming out of the battery plants into 2 lines because it's too difficult to try and do that done here. So you would have to take 2 lines of batteries coming out. So the only thing that you'd be reducing is the number of these plants sitting here. You know, that's, you know, basically you're looking at the cost of making a chemical plant. But then there's the cost of beauty. Alright, what goes into blue science? We need, or blue chips. We've got sulfuric acid, we need red and green chips. If we're making the blue chips here, we probably need red and green chips coming from the left on a line. And if we do it with red and green chips on a line down the center, just ending here, then we could also have our other speed modules. So putting our final ingredients very close to the end, meaning that there will not be a belt filled with any of our final ingredient, which definitely happens here. You'd end up with a belt of a final ingredient, and this one, look at all those red chips. I mean, it's not a waste, but over time the engines actually back up really far too. It's not a waste. You're just looking at as the cost of, you don't have engines strewn across your factory floor. They're just right here. Engine, engine, engine. And it will take time for it to back up. You could introduce logic into the system, counting somewhere down here how many engines are on the belt right here, and string that over to the engine here, saying, oh, I'm sorry, if there is, yeah, this one, if there is 3 engines on the conveyor belt down on the right, stop inserting onto here, and if you tell it to stop inserting, it will stop producing once it maxes out the output window. So you basically then have only like 10 engines on the line, ever. And you can do that with all of the outputs if you really want to. If it comes down to, I don't want to waste product, it hurts me somewhere deep inside wasting product, so that's the way you can do it. Alright, so gray, yellow. Alright, so we kind of have all this already on there now. If we are doing this, yeah, so we would need to do the exact same thing in opposite and this side. Insert the symmetry, that's kind of nice. And I would insert all of the speed modules on the left hand side. This probably can't end up like this though, because we don't have the red and green chips making it into here. We will need, oh no, we could do it because we have this outer edge still. Yeah. So if this comes through and then down, we'll be able to pick up from here for red and green chips on both of these. So both those lines have to have red and green chips. How many red and green chips? Whew, 20. It's so many. There's so many electronic circuits. But it's 20 for 15 seconds, not 20 for 10 seconds. So you need 20 and 15 because you only need one blue chip every 15 seconds. So we can work on that math later, but and then basically one red chip, because it takes 6 seconds to make a red chip, which does mean that if we really wanted to, we could have just one red chip assembler providing to both blue sciences, right? No, I'm totally wrong. No, we need one red chip for each because it'll take 12 seconds and we need 2 in 15 seconds. So yeah, just one red chip per. Oh, I'm wrong on that again because we need one red chip for this as well. Oh no, we need 5. Ooh. Okay. Where are my mathematicians? We need 5 red chips to fill this out. And 5 green, 25 green. This only needs 16 electronic circuits in 10 seconds. Well, it needs 20 and 15. 20 and 15 is, it needs more than 1 per second. So we'll say it needs 2 per second, and this needs 1 every 3 seconds. So is 2 per second enough to supply both of these? 2 per second would mean in 15 seconds we'd have 30, and we only need 25. So yeah, 2 green to fill this in, but you need green to go into the red circuits as well. Let's look at those. Red circuits, green circuits. It needs 2 each one. How many red chips do we need? Let's talk about that again. This needs 2 every 15 seconds. This needs 5 every 15, so it's 7 every 15 seconds. If we have 3 of these, we're making 6, 7, right? More than 7. We're making more than 7. 3 of these in 12 seconds make 6. 2 of these in 12 seconds make 4, and then not enough extra there to make it up. So we need 3 red chip assemblers. For the 3 red chip assemblers to operate, we would need enough electronic chips for all 3 of those to make how many? So if they're operating at full speed, they need 2.5 recipes worth of electronic chips. So they need 5 electronic circuits in the 15 seconds. So each red assembler needs 5 green. And there's 3 of them, so that would be 15 green chips are needed to fulfill the red chip requirements. This needs another 5, so that's 20. And this needs another 20, so that's 40. So you're looking at 40 green chips need to be made in 15 seconds. And this can make, one of these can make how many? In 15 seconds, it can make 30. So we need 2 green chip assemblers. Alright, that wasn't so bad. I thought it was going to be more than that. As long as I've done my math right anyway. 2 green and 3 red. Let's pretend that I did that right and we'll see how it goes. Alright. Do we want one inserting directly in? It's not really necessary. No. So this needs to basically come from a splitter. Oh. Alternately, we could have the green chips coming down through the center, because the green chips need to go to, or coming underneath the assemblers. The green chips do need to go to everything. Let's see what that would look like. If green came underneath, and the red also came underneath, you could have the green insert onto the line on that side. So this is red. This one needs to actually be in the center. No, there's no reason to not have the green coming down the middle, right? Oh, it's hard to insert into things from the middle. It's easy to get things into the center line, but getting stuff out of it always looks something like this. So if this is red in it, see, that's going to insert on they're both going to insert on the right hand side, which is a problem if we want the green to easily get onto this conveyor belt to get over here. Let's stop that. Let's stop the obnoxious flashing. Red chips going to the processing units. Can I get the green on its own line to the processing units? Not with all that stuff there. I could move the processor or the speed modules outputting over to here and continuing down the center, but I really like having all of it in the one. There's every reason to believe I should try and sit. Well, hold on. How quickly do those need to get pulled off the line? really quick. First of all, this needs to be a fast inserter. That needs almost like well, its own line of green, so it can pull from both sides of the conveyor belt. If that's the case, then I really want red coming in. Yeah, this is going to have to go. I like it. I'm going to have red coming in. Red chips on a line. Yeah. Can I get them here? That's outputting onto there. Oh, wrong spot. This can pick up from there, so it's got one more. We'll turn them so that they don't feed onto a line. You can easily tell that they're ending this way. So this is red, this is green, and this is leaving. And that means I need to still output this onto a line. Should look something like that. This is sort of in the way. Speed modules on the left-hand side. This I'm already going to need two of these. So let's place this here for now. This is the end of the line. Take that out for a second. If this drops out, no, it'd have to come from this side. So this one could output like that. And I would drop it on the line on the left-hand side. But then we won't be able to have this red module. Ooh, so little space. So much has to be done in such a little amount of space. This has been complicated by the fact that I have this pipe here with no space for inserting. A little bit. Let's just grab this for a moment. Tell the robots to move this out of our way for a second. And we will place that like this. And this should give us enough space then to... Oh, it doesn't really though, does it? It gives us enough space to have the red chips, actually, is what it does. Because I can make the red chips come in on... So if these are here, and the red chips are coming through on the outside. Or green chips, doesn't matter which. Say it's green chips. Green chips came on the outside line. We would be able to insert directly in from there and then output on this side. And we don't have to take up the space of inserting here. And then we can do the same thing with the red chips. No, we can't. If we're going to want this, the same, well, let me just take that pattern. So if it looks like this, and we're bringing Please stop flashing. We're bringing green chips on the outer line. Yes, green chips on the outer line. Be able to insert directly in. What's this? This is going in. This would be red chips going in. Did I solve anything? No, not really. I haven't actually solved the issue. Alright, let's pick it back up. Let's try this again. So changing the pipes didn't do anything. Doesn't change the fact that this is wrong. So where am I sending the processing speed processors? That's basically all I've run into as far as a problem, is I don't know how to get those onto the left-hand side of the center belt. The red chips will have to come underneath. I mean, we are running into also the issue of getting the copper wire and plastic into these. If we have all of this running in like this. So let's say the red chips are actually on the center line. In this case, we don't care which side it is, because it's all on the center. We'll figure out the processing unit in a second. So I'm going to put a pole down so that I don't forget that this does not connect. That means here I can actually split the red chips, which gives me a little bit of space, but not enough to get the processors onto this line on the left. I guess if I I could do it if I used longer undergrounds. If I used a red underground, I could probably get more space under it, but I've been trying to do this with only using regular undergrounds. Yeah, and now that I think about it, will this get enough green chips in here? Yeah, sure. That should be fine. But I don't think we'll be able to get the green and red onto it and have enough here. Maybe I should do the math on that. If you have one side of the belt, so that's like 6, it's less than 7 green chips per second. It's 6, so we'll say it's 6 green chips per second. How many does this need per second? It doesn't need that many per second. And it's got 15 seconds to pick up all 20 chips. I might be creating a problem that doesn't exist. I'm going to pretend it's a problem that doesn't exist. This is going to be red and green. If this turns out poorly, blame Blame math. It's what we're supposed to do anyway, right? It's the math's fault, it's not our fault. The math didn't work out. That does mean I don't need this here. Does that reach? No, of course not. Yeah. This is dropping on the flat side. I can actually get rid of that. Yeah. There you go. I feel like I've backtracked to a previous time. It's certainly cleaner doing it this way. Okay. This mouse space isn't needed. Alright, we're back to this needs red and green going into it. It's going to get it here. This needs red and green into it. It's getting it here. So this just needs to have red and green signs on it. And I think the best way to do that is for it to be green. Oh, that's why I had that extra space. And this is a hood here. Hood here. That looks like it would take a little more space with it. Hood. Go underground. When we come out, we insert onto the same side. Now obviously this leads to still the problem of we want to make sure that red or green is on the right hand side and the left hand side on this side. So that does require whatever finagling, but we'll only have 2 green chip producers per line, so that might not be too hard. Yeah, let's place the doesn't matter which side. Doesn't look like it. I can output. This needs input. We also need cable. The only place where that's going to be able to reach across is here. We may end up needing that to be on a line. Oh, but we could still do the red chips down the middle. Yeah, I think that's ideal. So they're not taking up space. Red chips down the middle. Split here. Onto that line. Onto that line. That leaves us with the ability to use this going across. And we can still get plastic through here. And draw from that. So that's plastic here. Plastic coming through, feeding the red chips. Alright. That means I need copper coming through here, feeding the copper cable. Ooh, there's a slight issue of, before I do that, let's make sure we create space for green chips still. Continuing down the line. The copper cable is going to involve some undergrounding. We can place this here. So I have to do one more. Yeah. Perfect. And we want those red chips going out. They can just go out like this. I could even place this one here. I think you can insert onto the splitter. So, but this symmetry, yay symmetry. Okay. So this red, so we still need 2 more red chip assemblers further down the line, which might be able to be next to each other, we'll see. This actually can feed into another red chip assembler. Gives us enough space to place that there. Too close. Too close, too close, too close. One here, one here. And the green again going underneath. So there's a lot of duplication of effort going on here. Well, not of effort, duplication of design. Let's see. This still needs copper coming up. This is picking up the green chips. So we're looking at something like this. Oh, I've done that wrong. It needs to be placed here first. So in the tile ability, you'll have 2 undergrounds that are half of a full set of underground. When you tile it, it'll be fine as long as you've got your first underground created. I don't like adding this into the design in general, but when it gets complicated like this, as far as like number of inputs coming in, it looks like it's kind of necessary. And by the time you got yellow science, you should have plenty of undergrounds, so it's not a big issue. Oh, these are the red chips still. Can I output them into the middle here somewhere? Not in fit. So this is picking up copper. It has to pick it up from here because it's a center line here, or this line is copper, so it's going to pick up from the copper line, and the only way to do that is by putting in the middle. There's nowhere to output red chips on this side. They're going to have to output on this side, on the left side. We can just do it there, and they can just pop in. It's not hard to do the red chips because they are on both sides now. Yeah, and that will power all of that. Let's go ahead and put the loader in for, oops, copper. So this is getting the copper wire, it's getting green chips that we've not made yet. Oops. Screw you guys. I don't want you making things yet. It's getting the copper wire. It's getting plastic from the plastic line. It's getting green chips from the green chip line going around the outside. Green and red chips are going to be gotten all the way down to here. On the outside line, we'll have both. Oh, well, you know, then why do I need... Yeah. If red chips are all in the center, I don't need to put them out here on this outside line. Oh, the issue is getting them to the blue processor. Because I could just be outputting and going straight. if they're going to be on the outside line in the end anyway, there's no need to make them go down the center. I'm taking up space that doesn't need to be taken up with my current design. Alright. That means this probably could have been more elegant. What we got? Yeah. We need 3 reds. These will probably have to be shifted a little bit. There you go. Still needs plastic coming into this. This whole underground copper thing might have to happen for the plastic here too. If I do it that way, these can pick up from it. Can another red chip assembler pick up from it? Yes, if I move these down one more. That would be my 3rd red chip. I could pick up from the green chips, the plastic, and from copper that's going to be down here. So that's a loader for plastic. And then it has to unload. We can unload onto the same line that that one's unloading onto. It's pretty efficient, provided I've done it correctly anyway. So this has green chips coming in, it has red chips going out, it has plastic coming in, and it'll have cable right here. This copper cable, is it enough to supply the green chips and the red chips? No, because you need enough copper cable for, maybe it is. So just supplying this 1 red chip. This needs 4 copper cable every 6 seconds. The green chip assembler will need right, you need more than 1 copper cable per green chip anyway. It's 1.5 because it's 3 copper cables for 1 green chip. So if this one's supplying both the green and the red, then we would have 1 more supplying just the green. And that is totally fine. Yeah. So this is going in from both sides. This amount of space may not be needed, but you can see yellow assembly is quite wide. Alright. Copper cable, plastic, green chips. So we need a copper line to supply this copper cable, and then the copper line supplying this, and then we need an iron line supplying here. Actually, if I move, that doesn't help any. Let's try and put a copper line that didn't have any undergrounds. Is that possible? Not with yellow. I mean, all this is a little easier if I use red undergrounds. But is it really science then? That's pseudoscience. Oops. Reaching across. Can I get copper coming here and somehow go into that machine? Not with regular inserters, that's for sure. So even if I loop it, this is all in the way. It'd have to be here and not here. Or these would have to move, and they could only move over here, and then this could be nowhere, and that totally has to be on the outside. Which just means another underground scenario. I hate doing these undergrounds like this. I mean, they totally function. Doesn't mean that they're pretty. That probably needs to pick up faster than that. I mean, these are faster than a regular inserter, slightly. But a regular inserter, well, if it's picking up 2 at a time, and we've already made the assumption that 2 at a time is what's going on, because that's a long inserter as well. Why is that long? Because I need the undergrounds. What's on those undergrounds? Batteries. Alright, fine. Copper cable, getting copper. So these are supplied. Well, I mean, as soon as I get the green chips on this line. Still need, this probably can just be an outer, oops, an outer line of this going in. Did I determine that this needed to be a fast inserter? Or did I just did that somewhere. Oh, right there. Alright, I said no. Fine. Oh, there's nothing coming down the middle. So this can all be like that. Oh, I probably will need some overlap. Then we need iron to come down here and be pulled in. So is this the only green chips I need? No, I needed 2 green chips. Well, fine. So we've got, so that's in the way. Because I will need to reach through. So this one will drop on the correct side, the bottom one will. This one will not. So I want it only on the left-hand side. Which means I can insert onto a line, a very short line, and it will insert on the far side. This is provided these are even moving at the right speed. I probably need them to be fast. I'm just going to go back to fast. This is just going to assume these need to be fast. I know that I said that it seemed like they didn't need to be, but I feel like I'm lying. I feel like I'm lying on this one as well. Alright. So I could do the same thing with this one. It makes it clear what's happening, that both things are doing the same thing. Okay. And then finally green chips at the end here. So can I use... So the only thing taking in copper are copper wire. And no, the correct solution is not to spin copper wire around your factory. It takes up twice as much space on your conveyor belt anyway. You can move less of it than you can copper plate. But let's see. So this copper wire is supplying both of these. 4 and 6 seconds means I'm using 2 seconds worth of this copper wire stuff compared to this needing, if I'm splitting this in half. So this is getting how much copper wire? It's getting half of a, it's getting 1 copper wire from that side. The other side would need to provide 2 copper wire every half second. So it would need the full attention of the other side, and it won't get the full attention of the other side. It means I can't use this assembly to also supply another green chip. I have to just basically pull from the same line and feed that into the last green chip assembler, which can actually go right there. Which is going to need yet another copper wire assembler. So these are green, these are copper. This is, as you would expect, this is the longest science assembler. And then we want this to be iron. Oh, no, I won't be able to put them right next to each other if I'm going to get the green chips all the way down to here. Unless I put them onto the center line, which isn't a bad idea. So this is picking up iron. Another 4. Iron, copper, iron, copper. How many actual dedicated lines of input material will you need? It's hard to say, because all of these aren't using everything in their lines, and it depends on how deep you make this. The distribution is going to be a little off for all of it, regardless, because they're not all pulling from the lines in equal amounts for all the materials. Although you do need twice as much copper in this as you do iron, and that is actually exact, I think. It's, well, almost exact. Just a little bit more than twice as much copper. You can ignore the other ingredients. It's really just iron and copper coming in. The amount of plastic you need is pretty small. And then sulfuric acid. So if you just had sulfuric acid coming into here, or petroleum gas coming into here, you could make the plastic on-house or in-house, as well as the sulfuric acid, which of course would be an even longer assembler. You can see compared to this purple, there's blue, and there's yellow. A lot of this is being taken up by copper wire assemblers, but that's fine. And then that leaves another copper at the end. Copper, copper, copper. So I wanted to put this onto a center line. And I want that to happen fast. Means I don't necessarily need this to happen like that. I will need something in order to get it to the outer line after all these have been made, but oh. I guess that was fine. Nope. Yep. I need to bring the green onto the line as well. Oh, we'll see. Power. Power. It doesn't quite reach. I can move this over. There we go. Let's fill that in. So the green cable, green chips are actually getting into the center. So we've got the copper going in, got iron going in, they're coming to the center. Copper going in, iron going in from there, copper going in. So we just need to get the green chips onto the center line or to the outer line. This is the green chips. Yeah, so that doesn't actually have to go underground there. That actually means I could take up a little more space in the center here. Alright, so the last issue is getting green chips to the outer edge of the outer side. That can be done. Let's take up a little extra space. Let's move this slightly closer. And these are pulling directly from here. So we have a little bit more space here in the middle. I'm going to remove that for a second. Just put it here until I figure out where I want everything. Oh, use silly connections. There we go. Green chips. So I can actually, I can't insert onto this and get there because it will insert on the wrong side. So I was thinking like I could do that, but that's going to insert on the far side and I need it on the outer edge, not the inner edge. Oh, that doesn't reach now. Poppycock. I'll figure that out in a second. So this is the green chips coming in it. If I had them just continuing down and then being pulled, I still had it sitting there, pulled off of this line by fast inserter. That technically gives me all the chips going out into the outer edge. Okay, and then I can put this back in the middle. Green chips need to be inserted now onto this line. You could do it in the same way. But now if there's, oh, so that would make this have to be an underground. That's fine. Oh, but then I can't have a center power supply. I like having center power supplies like that. Because if they output here, And then onto lines here. This needs to at least be like that. Yeah, it's fine. I'll make this go under, come back up. At least it's not a backwards one. I hate the backwards ones. I'm just going to put this here. Oops. And here for now. There's another one, yeah, in there. So just 3 of them? Just 3. It's entirely 3. Alright. Green chips now need to, they're all going onto the line in the middle. Is that too many green chips? No, 2 of them won't fill up the entire thing. Side. Is there anything I'm missing? Did I finish these? Copper wire coming in from 2 sides. Iron coming down. Alright, I think we're ready to turn this on. The only possible problems are getting green down the line to supply the processing units and the speed modules. But I think, oh, let me power this. I think this is all that was needed. Oh. 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 No. I'm just going to put 2 power poles there. It's ridiculous, I know, but it's better than using another underground, I think. I mean, it's steel, so maybe not. Alright, this should be functioning. I'm ready to turn it on and see. Okay, let's make sure. Alright, green chips are going onto the line. That's the distribution. They're getting split. They're making it to the red chippers. They're making it to the processing plants. They're not yet making it down to the, or speed modules, they're not yet making it down to processing plant. That might take a second of saturation. Unless I've completely messed up the distribution. Okay, they're getting there. Like, unless I've completely messed up math. Alright, so these will need red chips getting to them next. Alright, there are the red chips. I can speed this up a little bit. Let me make sure. Oh, I didn't connect the pipe. There we go. So in theory, everything is being supplied. Let's just change the speed. Where is that? Speed 10. Oh. Let me add output. I'm just going to leave them regular for now, but yeah. Speed 10. So if the red chips don't back up, I've screwed up the amount of red chips. It's looking like, well, it's not the red chips that need to back up, it's if this doesn't fill. Oh no! Ah, math failed me. I need 3 processing units. Okay. Well, oops. I almost did this correct. I have 1/3 the number of processing units mathed out. in production, I needed 2 blue processing units being made every 15 seconds instead of 2, 3. No, I needed 3 of these? No, I'm making 1.5 blue chips every 15 seconds. I needed 3 blue chips every 15 seconds. So I needed twice as many blue assemblers to finish this. So this is close. This is close. It's close enough that if you wanted to finish it, you should be able to do it by basically duplicating some effort of blue chip processing into this. But basically, you're having to increase the amount of red chips being made, most likely, because there's not enough getting down to there. There's enough to keep this running constantly, but in order to keep another one running, you might need 1 more red chippy. Because these are staying constant, so that's fine. I was silly in thinking that I was ever going to need more green chips. This is plenty. But you might need another one if you're adding another red chip assembler in there. So you would need 1 more red chip assembler and 1 more blue chip assembler to finish this. This means that this area here where you've got 2 coppers on the sides of 2 chips is what you really need here as well. So you'd have copper, another red chip, copper, leading to the processing units, and then 2 blue chip assemblers on the far end. There's no reason to finish that out in here. That's easy for someone to add, just creating extra space in between it. It does mean this entire assembler is going to be about twice as long as the purple, maybe less than twice as long, certainly twice as long as the blue, and will be able to be tiled when it's correctly made. I probably don't have enough hoods in there. Let's make some more stuff and set it in. You guys. The electric poles. What's missing? Chemical plants. I had too many of those. There we go. So, tileable. Provided the robots get there in time. Everything makes it. Obviously, they already have enough copper. Green chips getting on the line. So basically the same situation happening, but it will be tileable. Whether or not how much copper you need to actually go into an assembly like this, like could this entirely be 1 yellow? It depends again on how many deep you go. If you're just looking for 1 science pack per second, you're gonna have to do this 8 times, which is close to what basically this is going to be doing. This is 7 times. This would have to be 8 because of the inherent 15-second issue. But yeah, there you have it. Science strip, tileable, inputs along the bottom. If you want to do another one and you're running into like too much of an input being on the line, you would just create like a small amount of space in between in order to get an extra copper or iron line and whatever is running dry to tile this like 20 or whatever, because the plastic won't run dry the sulfuric acid won't run dry. I don't think the iron will either, because it's not getting used nearly as much as the copper would. So if you had this 20 deep, you would probably need a lot more copper coming into it from the sides, and then go vertically from there. So you'd have a bit of a gap, just 2 or 3 tiles, and then you would be able to send whatever it was that you're missing up on its own new line coming in from the side, going up. Yeah, there you go. That's Yellow Science. I'm going to stop streaming this. I'm going to start a new stream of doing C block in a second. I'll take a break, a drink, grab a quick bite, and I'll be back in like 15 minutes. Alright, have fun. See you soon.